All right, this is being recorded now. All right, we're back now. Screen is sharing. We'll go right to this. And mindset. So this is not being broadcast live. I'll put it onto a unlisted YouTube video, and then I'll put the recording up for later so people can watch a replay, but it's not going to be broadcast live. Remember, this is not a doctor-patient relationship. I don't treat, diagnose, or manage disease. You're doing this on your own, and you have any concerns, you should consult with your primary care provider or MD before proceeding. And remember, Tuesday night, we're starting our 24 to 36-hour fast, wherever you're comfortable doing. If doing a 24-hour fast is out of your comfort zone, go for it, because that's where all growth happens. But if you could go Tuesday night to Wednesday night, I mean, at that point, might as well go to bed starving and wake up Thursday morning and get your 36-hour instead of a 24-hour. That's how to do that. You'll probably sleep better anyway. And we're going Tuesday night, and we're trying to get to Thursday morning. We'll do it as a group, and I'll chime in during the day and say, hey, this is what's going on in your body now, and push through it, or make sure you have some electrolytes or something like that. And if you have to, I'd rather you put some coconut oil or some grass-fed butter versus going and just eating. This way you could extend your fast, and you're technically not breaking your fast. We want to try to do it with water and electrolytes. And you could drink, like, if you had to drink black coffee, but nothing digestible. No milk, no dairy, nothing digestible. Preferably water, electrolytes. If you have some electrolytes, that's fine. But nothing else. Just trying to give our body a break from eating and clean it out a little bit and push it a little bit. Not going to hurt anything. You're not going to go into starvation mode for that kind of fast. And that's where our first milestone is, to try to get to that 24 to 36-hour fast. Also, on check-ins, we'll do an intermittent fasting, water, exercise. We're going to add meditation now. So right now we've been doing intermittent fasting, water, exercise, adding meditation in, and we do the happy, the crappy, the praise, and the accountability. That's what we do. The happy is what worked for you today. The crappy is what didn't work. The praise is what are you thankful for, and accountability. What do you want this group to hold you accountable for? So, week 5, mindset and stress. What is mindfulness, and what is the connection to overall health? Eating healthy to make the nervous system and vagus nerve work better. And we're going to go over polyvagal theory. And again, we're adding meditation to the daily check-ins, especially 4-step breathing, and adding planks to the daily routine. Get down on your tippy toes and your elbows to like your forearms, and try to get up for 30 seconds. Hold it there. We're trying to get to 45 seconds to a minute, but in the beginning, our core might be a little weak. Try to get to 30 seconds. If you can't do that, put your forearms down and put your knees down, and don't do it on your tippy toes, because that makes it harder. And that's like an intermediate part where you could do that. And mindset and understanding how the conscious and the subconscious mind work. How bad do you want it, and what are you willing to give up to get it? I say that a lot, but you got to be willing to give up diet. You got to be willing to give up eating. You got to be willing to give up things that are in your way. Here's the good news. You don't have to give them up forever. If you can give them up long enough to get your results, once you get there, you could go on like what I call the adaptable diet, which is, metabolic flexibility, where twice a week you can have carbs, or 2 or 3 times a week you can have carbs. 4 days a week you can have lower carbs. You can do fasting 5 days a week, but take weekends off. Once you get there, you can maintain it and still live a good life and have your desserts and have your adult beverages, but you might have to give up desserts, carbs, and adult beverages. And some of you are not doing that. Some of you, from the feedback I get, well, I can't, and I went this week. Listen, it's your why. We're going to go over that in another session, but how bad do you want it? And what are you willing to give up to get it? You're going to have to give up stuff to get what you want. So, and how to not get triggered by everything you think and run into. That's the big one. We get triggered by so many things in life, and we're going to try to make our nervous system trigger-proof. That's what giving your brain healthy fat. That's why changing the way you think about things works. And then in 3 years, do you want to be in the same place you are now? Because you want to have your your 30, 60, and 90-day outcomes. What do you need to do in the next 30, 60, and 90 days? And you have to get organized and disciplined if you're going to get success. And if you want fast results, you need focus, you take action and accountability, you need to make this simple, and you need to be persistent. So in 3, 5, or 10 years, that's what I want. I want to get a message from one of you 10 years from now when I forgot about, the people in this group and say, I'm doing great, doc, still there, still doing the fasting, still looking younger than everyone else. I think the clocks are going, I feel younger at 51 than I did when I was 39. I have more energy, more passion than I ever did. And it's the energy, mitochondria. You make energy. Energy is currency to the body. If you make more energy than you need, your body's going to supply all its organs and cells, and that's how you're going to be healthy. And everything I tell you about in this program is helping you get towards that. So are you tired of feeling overwhelmed, fatigued, unable to focus, stressed, powerless, like a failure? And what is mindfulness anyway? So first we got to start with that. The quality or state of being conscious or aware of something. Their mindfulness of the wider cinematic tradition. A mental state achieved by focusing one's awareness on the present moment while calmly acknowledging and accepting one's feelings, thoughts, and bodily sensations used as a therapeutic technique. So it's like a state where you're in the moment. And remember, there is no stress in the present moment. Right now, I'm sitting in a nice leather chair in my office. I got lights, I got water, I got everything I need. Now, your mind and your memory run the past and the future. So you need to prepare for the future, learn from the past, but live in the present. And that's how you have to do present moment awareness. That's where mindfulness comes in. So things like being aware of your breathing, focusing on your breathing, focusing on your sensory nerves. So if I'm touching this keyboard and I'm touching this paper and my desk, I'm in the present moment. I'm connected. If I'm feel the sensations on my feet when I walk, and I feel the weight, and I listen to the sound on the ground, and I'm focusing on my breathing, what am I? I can't think of the future. I can't worry about it. I can't dwell in the past at that point. I'm in the present moment. So mindfulness is about staying in the present moment. That's what meditation, that's what yoga and Pilates tries to get you to be in the present moment. There's no stress in the present moment. It's perception. And we'll go over this later, but the brain doesn't know the difference between reality and imagination. You ever have a bad dream and you're sweating and your heart's beating? It's like you were in the dream. Your brain doesn't know the difference. So how you talk to yourself and what your thoughts are all day keeps you either in the future, in the past, or in the present. And the mental state, by focusing one's awareness on the present moment, that's where there's no stress. That's where your body's relaxed. So mindfulness means paying full attention to something. It means slowing down to really notice what you are doing. Being mindful is the opposite of rushing or multitasking. When you're mindful, you're taking your time. You're focusing in a relaxed, easy way. And I'll tell you, when your brain starts to run off of more energy and a metabolic shift diet, which is where you start to make ketones from MCT oil, from all the things that I've told you in the gut health. I was talking to somebody in the office this week about what an unfair advantage it is. I mean, that's what the name of it should be. And if I ever write a book, which I'm thinking about, it'll be like The Healthy Me, The Unfair Advantage. And that's what I feel like it is. It feels like when I got my stuff together and I'm fasting and I'm working on high intensity interval trainings and I get my inflammation levels down and I get my to-do list the night before done out and my coffee set up, it's like taking Tom Brady into a high school football game and saying, all right, it's an unfair advantage. You just can't explain it, but it's not even fair. When your mind is like 4 or 5 steps ahead of everything that's happening, you're not so stressed. Your brain and you really take slowing down to really notice what you're doing paying attention to details, being in the present moment, focusing on one thing, not like, I got all these things to do. No, I got one thing to do. I don't have a watch anymore in my office. I think it's a distraction. I don't use my cell phone in the office. I want to be in the present moment and 100% focusing on helping people. That's what mindfulness is, not getting distracted and paying full attention. It's not easy for some people to get there. And stress is the number one thing that's going to prevent us from getting what we want. There is very little stress in the present moment. It's regretting the past or getting nervous about the future, anxiety, anticipation that cause the body stress. And present moment awareness is where there's no stress. That's where we want to stay. So we cannot talk about mindfulness and stress without talking about nervous systems. Our brains, beliefs, memories are what runs our life. And the spine connects the body to the brain. This is how chiropractic helps so many people with stress. We're not just back pain doctors. Your body has, it's like your brain is a processor that has to process all your information. And on the next slide, which I'm going to go through, you've got, I hope you can see this pretty well, but you've got yellow nerves, which are surrounded by the spine, and they mostly come out from like the middle lower back to the upper mid back where that hump is up in here, right up in here. Those are the nerves that control your fight flight, which is your emergency nerves. And then you've got this green nerve up top, which look what it comes down to. It goes to the heart, it goes to the lungs, it goes to the stomach, the blood vessels of the abdomen, the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder, the spleen, the intestines, and it even goes down somewhat to the kidney area. That's called the vagus nerve. Why did they call it that? It was vague. When the Greeks were dissecting people and learning about anatomy and physiology, they used Latin words, vague, vagus. Vague means without, it doesn't go to one place. It's vague, meaning it goes all over the place. It's this nerve that controls all these things, but they find out that that nerve goes both ways. So that nerve tells your heart to slow down and your blood pressure to go down. That nerve tells you to breathe easy and nice and slow. That tells your stomach to produce acid. So it actually speeds up digestion and speeds up immune system, but it slows down heart rate. Why? Because when you're in a relaxed state, you want to fight disease, you want to heal, you want to digest your food, you want to rest, and you're in a relaxed state. That's when your blood sugar is normal and your pancreas produces plenty of insulin. That's when you produce digestive enzymes. That's when your stomach works best. That's the vagus nerve. Now, let's say you have a lot of stress, or let's say your gut's a mess. What happens? It shuts off the vagus nerve. What happens? The yellow gets turned on. You have anxiety. That's why the gut-brain connection, that's how it happens. The gut is connected to the brain by the vagus nerve right here. So when you have stress and you have a stressed out gut, what happens? Or you drink caffeine. What does caffeine do? Adrenals. It stimulates only, the adrenals are the only organ that only has a sympathetic nerve. Why? Because you don't want to shut it off at the vagus nerve, because when you're in an emergency, that trumps everything. You want to get out of that emergency. Most people, even though we live in a world where we have houses and we have safe environments, your cells don't know that there's a refrigerator. Your cells don't know that you have walls and ceilings and there's unlimited food in your pantry. The cells don't know that. They're not thinking, judging, and reasoning. They're responding to what's going on with an innate intelligence. So what happens when your gut's a mess? It shuts off the vagus nerve. What does that cause? Anxiety and stress. When you have anxiety and stress, it activates the yellow nerves. What happens? Your heart rate goes up. You get tachycardia. You get the blood vessels tighten up. When your vagus nerves, it vasodilates, it relaxes your blood vessels, everything flows. What happens when you're in emergency? Everything tightens up. What happens to the blood flow? The blood goes from this area when you have stress to your arms and legs. Why? So you can run and get out of a situation. It puts you into a fight flight. What happens then? Your body can't heal because you can't be in two modes at the same time. Everything I'm trying to teach you about is that you should be in the non-stressful vagus nerve mode 97, 98, 99% of the time. There's only 1% of your life when you get into dangerous situations that you have to get out of, that you need an adrenaline rush. You're in an emergency. There's a dog in the yard chasing after you. You're in a shady area and you have to get out of there and you're running to your car. That's when you need adrenaline. But what happens? Our thoughts, our anxiety, our worrying about the future and regretting the past turns on the fight-flight system. And that is how stress screws up the functions of your body. And so everything we're trying to teach here is being in the parasympathetic. So when we go to the next slide here, let's go to here. So how does mindfulness connect to overall health and well-being? We cannot be healthy if our nervous system is out of balance. If you're in the fight-flight sympathetic nervous system all the time, you can't heal. And what can we do to turn off the fight-flight part of our nervous system? That's the next obvious question. Things you can do to optimize the nervous system. It's called polyvagal theory. Poly means many. Vagus nerve means many ways to activate the vagal nerve. Here's 11 things you can do at home for vagus nerve stimulation. Breathing exercises. Again, we go back to this slide. When you slow down your breathing, what is 4-step breathing? It's breathing in, breathing in, counting to 4 seconds or 3 seconds. 2, 3, 4, holding it. For 4 seconds, breathe out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe in. What are we doing? We're forcing breathing exercises. We're going to 4-step breathing, which is taking a breath in, holding it for 4 seconds, breathing all the way out, holding it out for 4 seconds and breathing in. What are we doing? We're activating the vagus nerve. Because why? Because when people hyperventilate, they go into fight flight. What do they do to people who have anxiety attacks? What do they give them? A bag. Why do they give them a bag? Because when they get a paper bag and they breathe into it, what do they breathe in? Carbon dioxide. Oxygen stimulates the vagus nerve. When you have carbon dioxide, the body goes into a slower, it calms down because it realizes that if I keep breathing like this, I'm going to pass out. So it automatically, you're actually activating the parasympathetic nervous system by breathing in CO2. Now, what else can we do? Chiropractic care. When you get adjusted and you go to someone who knows what they're doing, who says, oh, you've got more anxiety and a lot of tension, we're going to work on the vagus nerve and the sacrum. And cranial sacral work is like that. They work on the cranium, which is where the vagus nerve, and the sacral. That's parasympathetic. So a good chiropractor will balance out your nervous system, will detect which part is out of whack and what needs to be worked on. And there's the order you adjust in, which bones you adjust, the order you do them in, what kind of techniques you use, all matter. We have energy balancing techniques as well. And I'm not saying to come to my office if you're not a patient here, but I can't not mention it because it's another unfair advantage that if you're having trouble, you might be stuck. Maybe your nervous system's not working right. And the body's perfect. It reacts perfectly to everything that's thrown at it, but it gets out of whack. It gets stuck in modes, and we need to work to get it back into balance. And there, of course, there's a whole bunch of other benefits. I'm not going to go over that now, but HIIT workouts, decreased adrenaline. What are we doing when we're doing high intensity interval training or HIIT? We're getting adrenaline out. We're going all out like we're getting attacked by a bear. What happens if a bear attacked you? It's over in 3 minutes. You fight, you kill the bear kills you, or you outrun the bear, or you fight, whatever you have in your hand, a shovel, a bat, you defend yourself, and hopefully you get out of the situation. And what happens? Now you calm down because you used your adrenaline. What's the worst thing that people can do? They drink caffeine drinks all day long. They build up their adrenaline and they never get it out. And then they think about things and they think themselves silly. And what happens when you have adrenaline? The blood flow constricts the front part of this brain, which is where your memory and focus and thinking are, and it goes to the back of your brain for reacting. What happens when you have anxiety and stress? You can't think right. You can't focus, you get brain fog, and it screws up your ability to think and to reason. And that's why it's so bad for you. And we cannot be healthy if our nervous system is out of balance and we're in a fight flight. So again, we're going to, let me see, polyvagal, breathing, meditation, sitting there relaxed, using the 4-step breathing and focusing on breathing. What does that do? It keeps us in the present moment. It's activating the vagus nerve. What else? Exercise. Movement is good, too much is not. Too intense of exercise is not good. Pushing yourself too much, like really long exercises, hard, brutal workouts can be almost stressful to the body. So movement is good. Moving around, yoga, Pilates, taking a walk, going for a jog, doing like HIIT at quick intervals, but then relax it. So you're supposed to do an HIIT like 2 to 3 minutes of intense, and then take a break for a minute. Boom, go back, do it again, take a break. So you're moving, but not too much. What else? You don't say. Omega-3 rich diet. That's what we've been trying to do. Probiotics and a probiotic rich diet. What have we been trying to do? Singing and chanting. Why? Because humming, chanting, the vagus nerve goes right through the throat here. What are you doing when you're activating your vocal cords? You're stimulating the vagus nerve, which tells your body everything's going to be okay. So that's what chanting and singing and music does. Splashing your face with cold water. I think what they meant is 30 seconds of a cold shower or going in, or even a little bit of cold water. What does it do? Cold activates the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. Hugging, sense of connection. What happened in the last 2 years? Nobody started hugging. Everyone's fist pumping now, not even a handshake. Everyone's afraid of germs. Now it's like you don't even know how to size people up because they're so awkward socially that they don't even know. Like I hug some of my patients all the time, and it's like they're like, "Oh, thank you so much." They've not had that in a long time. We've been disconnected, and what happens is that caused a lot of fear. And then 2 years of a pandemic where you didn't know what was going to happen. What happens? Tons of fear. And what is the acronym for fear? False evidence appearing real. Yeah, there was a chance that we were going to have a problem, but when you have faith and you eat well and you exercise, like my wife had COVID, I wasn't worried about it. I wasn't washing down the counters. I hoped that I got it so I could get over it, but I went into a 2 or 3 day fast right when my wife had it. I had N-acetylcysteine, which is for glutathione production. I have immune boosters. I know that fats block the multiplications of viruses and bacteria. And what do viruses need? Sugar. That's how they work. What was I on? A low carb diet with fasting. Was I worried? No. I'm also a chiropractor. I have faith in the body's ability. And I was like, if this is it, this is it. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to take care of my wife, and I'm not worried about it. Besides the fact that I was mandated to stay April of 2020, when it first came out, my wife got it. I had to stay home for 14 days, but that was it. I worked through the whole thing. I wasn't worried. I had to wear masks because we were essential. I was comfortable not wearing a mask. I wanted to be exposed to it. The more you get exposed to it, the healthier you get. Now, for other people that are immunosuppressed and stuff, that's why they tried to do that stuff. And I'm not going into the details of it, but when you're healthy and your body's working at a different level, you are more prepared. Your body's healthier. It's more adaptable. I was not worried. And plus, just like if you don't want weeds to grow in your garden, what do? Where do most viruses come in through? Your nasal cavities, through your gut. What happens when your gut's filled with healthy probiotics? It's like a lawn that's filled with beautiful grass. There's no place for the weeds to grow. What do? You have to make your body healthy with good bacteria and a microbiome. And what happens? There's no room for the bad stuff to grow. Well, I went to the lab 8 weeks later because I had no symptoms when my wife had it. And she had a rough case of it. She was tough for a day or two, but what was I doing? Upper neck adjustment, vagus nerve. I kept working on her every day, a couple times a day, stimulating that vagus nerve. My wife made it through all right. And that was in the beginning stages of it. And I went 8 weeks later because Quest Diagnostics in Plymouth opened up a lab, and I went there, and guess what? I had had a strong antibody response to COVID, which means I had had it with no symptoms. And so, that doesn't mean that you can't get it again. And I've been tested again, and I've had it 2 or 3 times. But each time you get it, you build more immunity and stronger. And so we need connection, hugging, and massages, which help our bodies. And then intermittent fasting and longer fasting activates the vagus nerve. Why do you think people feel so good by the second or third day? Why? It gives your gut a break. When you fast, it takes a lot of energy to digest food. What happens when you're not digesting food? It gives your whole system a break and it calms it down. Now the vagus nerve says, all right, I'm not focused on digesting food. What else can I look for? Let me see if there's anything abnormal in the body, any diseases, any abnormal cells. Let me start looking around. So instead of 50% of your immune system hanging out in your gut every time you eat, it's saying, oh, on a 24 to 36 hour fast, it's saying, what else can I do? Can I fight off a disease somewhere else? Is there any abnormal cells over here? Is there any scar tissue that I could eat? And by the second day, you produce HGH through the roof. Why? Because your body doesn't want to go eat its own organs. So what does the HGH do? It preserves your organs and it makes you stay younger. And there's improved gut health when you optimize vagus nerve. And that's the connection. When your gut's healthy, it sends a message that the vagus nerve is happy. The vagus nerve activates the part of your brain that's for healing and rest and digest. And then you're healthier and happier. So the vagus nerve is the anti-stress nerve. It takes you out of fight, flight, and puts you into a healing state. So intermittent fasting, meditation, gut health, having more energy and more mitochondria. If you make more energy than you need, you will stop wasting energy with thoughts and you will have more energy for health, because the part of your brain that worries is fear, fight, flight, emergency. It is you produce, it's better to eat cheeseburgers and love them than it is to eat a healthy intermittent fasting diet and have a lot of stress. I can tell you that right now, that if it's a percentage, 90% of your health comes from what you think about, and 10% comes from exercise, diet, and everything else. But we were reverse engineering. When you get the gut healthy and when you get the right food source and the right metabolism in the body, what happens? It activates the vagus nerve and you start to calm down, and you notice that I could take a deep breath. I had some feedback from patients this week that they're sleeping better and they've had trouble sleeping for years. They're getting a full night's sleep. Their gut's starting to heal. Their inflammation levels are going down. Some people the scale hasn't moved much, but they're noticing their chronic back pain, their eye twinges, their sleeping patterns are all getting better, and it's just a matter of time. And again, we're not focused on weight. We're focused on health here. We cannot be healthy if our nervous system is out of balance, and that's the fight flight. Oh, that's where it went. And what can we do to turn off the flight part of our nervous system? I think I messed these slides up. I think that was here. Yeah, I think I duplicated that by accident, so we didn't even need to do that. But we went over that. So how do you keep your body in a non-fight flight vagus nerve? Breathing, the 4-step breathing, or holding your breath during times of stress. If your heart's racing, you can either take the bag or you can hold your breath. What happens? Your body has to make a decision. If I stay in a tight state, I'm going to burn more oxygen, so I better calm things down because I need to survive. So if you're underwater and you're relaxed, who can survive longer underwater? Someone who has anxiety or someone who's relaxed? In a relaxed state, might buy you a second or two. What's that the difference of? Life or death? That's the difference. What do I find? When people get adjusted, like me and my dad were talking, and we call it an unfair advantage in chiropractic. That's what we do. But just talking, we wish we had the money to do the research of finding out when people come to our office, like when's the last time someone had a major heart attack or stroke and died? And people have heart attacks and strokes in all walks of life. But the difference between life or death is how healthy you are before you get your heart attack or stroke. The difference between how your body reacts to when you get sick, I mean, it might be inevitable that we get sick, but how sick we get is determined by how healthy we are before we got sick. That's the disease process. That's the difference between dis-ease and disease. Dis-ease is the process of getting sick. It's way before you have symptoms, and it takes 10 to 15 years that you get a lack of wellness, which is what dis-ease means in Greek, and then you get a disease. So keeping yourself in your non-fight flight is going to help your body function at a much better level. Hugging, meditation, we already went over those. Having more fun and lightening up. Laughter is the best medicine. We're not on this planet long enough to be unhappy. You got to remember, no one knows how long they're here. And word of advice, start living every day like it's your last day. If this was your last day, how would you live? Are you going to worry about the little things and we're not going to blow through our money like it's our last day and go spend it all over the place. But if today was legitimately your last day and you knew it, what would you do? You'd probably lighten up. You'd probably have more fun, tell more jokes, crack, people come to my office, a lot of people are uptight, and I try to be funny and have a good time because it makes people comfortable and more relaxed. And some people, you got to be more professional. The doctor, I think a lot of doctors are so uptight. I mean, they probably got a lot of hemorrhoids and other things because they're so uptight. And you go in there and it's like, there's tension and like, need to be more relaxed. I take health very seriously, but part of my strategy is people need to be relaxed. They receive treatment better. I mean, they did a medical study that doctor went in and patted people on the back or on the shoulder and said, you know what, everything's going to be all right. And did the same medical protocols, the same medications, had way better outcomes than people who didn't. What is chiropractic? What does that word mean? To help people with your hands. It's a hands-on profession. When you put your hands on people and their backs and start working on them, people automatically start getting that vagus nerve connection. And I think that's why chiropractic is superior to almost every other health profession out there, because we are hands-on a lot. People don't even they have a shoulder problem. The doc never even touches their shoulder and does motion and says, oh, it doesn't move. They don't do anything. Intermittent fasting, higher fat, omega-3, probiotics, gut-friendly diet, digestive enzymes, CoQ10, adaptogens. We went over these. Reishi mushrooms, ashwagandha, maca, ginger, detoxes and gut cleaning, cold exposure, cold weather, the last 30 seconds of a cold shower, walking outside when it gets colder on the front porch or in the, around your yard for 20, 30 seconds barefoot with shorts on. It's cold, but you get used to it. And in a short time, you start to notice it's not so cold. What happens? Your body takes that freezing cold and distributes it through the body, and it turns on the mitochondria to make more energy because it feels like you're getting colder. What happens? You make more mitochondria and you make more energy. And when you have more energy, that's like currency to the body, making more energy. So I'm not going to go over these much, but 40% of stressed people overeat or eat unhealthy food. 44% lose sleep almost every night. I cannot emphasize enough. It's not what happens to you. It's how you react to what happens to you. You can spit in my face, but you can't make me mad. 44% of Americans feel more stressed than they did 5 years ago. 1 in 5 Americans, experience extreme stress. Now, here's the interesting one. 3 out of 4 doctor visits in the United States are stress related. 75% of doctor visits are stress related. And it's not the stress that hurts you. It's how you respond to the stress. Look at stress increases. It's the basic cause of 60% of human disease. And I'm sure those numbers are much higher. This was probably in the 80s or 90s, this study. And stress increases the risk of heart disease by 40%, heart attacks by 25%, and stroke by 50%. If you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. Nikola Tesla. It's the doubt we place in our heads, our changing frequencies, our inability to hold that one thought, vision, or desire. Remember, focus, simplicity, and present moment, and focus, that one thought, vision, or desire for an extended time that takes us off our path. A new thought is a new frequency. Look at how many people get interrupted by internet and these little sounds, and instant message has a different one than your text messages, and they just try to keep your attention all the time and distract you. Patterns, frequency, repetition, and habits. A function of the brain is to create coherence between your programs and your reality. And your conscious mind knows you should not eat the donut, but your subconscious mind wants to go back to it. It's self-sabotage. We're addicted to these things. They make the brain happy and make dopamine. We have to start cleaning out our gut and making our own dopamine so we don't crave from the outside in. When the subconscious does not think, judge, or reason, it responds perfectly every time. Here's a little bit between the conscious and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the thinking mind. You can accept or reject any idea. Most people accept the ideas we should reject and reject the ones we should accept. The subconscious cannot tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. It is the emotional mind. So the conscious mind is the thoughtful mind. The subconscious is the emotional mind. It has to accept what you give it and emotionalize it. So conscious mind, rationalization, willpower, short-term memory, planning, critical thinking, decision, and judgment. So all day we have a conscious mind. What we see, what we look at, short-term memory, critical thinking, decisions, we judge people and things, we rationalize things. When you go to bed at night and you go from alpha to beta to theta to the gamma, which is when you're sleeping, the gamma brain waves, you go into subconscious. Now it starts to store what you stored in your conscious mind into your subconscious mind. That's where long-term memory, emotions, creativity, and habits are. What happens? We 90% of the same thoughts we had yesterday, we think today. That's why things don't change, and our subconscious runs most of our life in our body. So what happens? Your conscious mind says, I don't want to go back to my old self. I don't want to go that. And your subconscious runs the show. That is why people can't get out of habits and things, because habits are subconscious. And unconscious is automatic control, pulse, control of respirations and immune systems, and functioning of mind within a single brain. You have all these things, and the subconscious really runs the show. So the conscious mind is 10%. It's the tip of the iceberg. Willpower, long-term memory, logical thinking, critical thinking, and subconscious is where 90% of us are. Beliefs, emotions, habits, values, protective reactions, long-term memory, imagination, and intuition. So most of our subconscious activity and behavior is programmed without our awareness, developed mostly from 0 to 7 years old. We can consciously reprogram the subconscious mind to change beliefs and habits. Step 1, slip into the gap and observe the subconscious thought. Before you go to bed and when you wake up in the morning, your theta waves. That's the 5 minutes before you go to bed and right when you wake up. That's when your subconscious mind is listening. That's the best time to do affirmations. Is right before you go to bed and right when you wake up in the morning. You have your affirmation and you start reading it. So conscious mind versus unconscious. The conscious mind tries to use willpower to control behaviors, habits, and beliefs, but loses out to the subconscious mind greater influence. And since it is not conscious and incapable of reasoning, the subconscious is therefore non-judgmental and is very flexible, and one could think of it as the hard drive of the brain constantly being programmed with life's data. That's where beliefs, creativity, developmental stages, emotions and feelings, habits and addictions, long-term memory, values, and intuition. That's the big problem. All right, Lisa, have a good night. And so this is why people have a tough time of not getting out of, so whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become a reality. That's why that 369 project book is so important. It reprograms the subconscious by repetition. 3 times affirmations in the morning, 6 in the afternoon, 9 at night. Repeat and repeat and repeat till you can talk to that subconscious and tell it what you really want it to do. And always use I have or I am. Never use I not, I need, I want, or I wish, because then you're saying you don't have it. And the brain manifests the expression of program. Want to change? Change the programming. I wish I wasn't fat. If I wasn't for bad luck, I would have no luck at all. I wish I could afford that. Can we get to the point where we're more in control of how we respond to things? This is where trigger proof comes in. It's not what happens to us. It's how we respond to what happens to us. You can spit in my face, but you can't make me mad. You choose if you're going to get mad or not. If someone cuts in front of you, if someone says something that triggers you, mostly that's the subconscious mind having been programmed in your early childhood ages when you were a child brain that run the show still. And when you start changing the way you look at things, the things you look at change. This is where growth happens. This is where you're going to get long-term habits, long-term memory. This is where habits and addictions and emotions and feelings and beliefs are changed, is in the subconscious mind. And the way to do that is by repetitionally affirmations. Talk. If you want to know, you want to get what you want, be clear on what you want and start talking to yourself like you have it. That's where the subconscious is. I am thankful and grateful that I have. That's the affirmation you need to use every day. And you fill in the blanks of whatever it is. I am thankful and grateful that I have, how about this, that I need nothing. When you think you have everything, the universe says, okay, he needs nothing. I will give him everything because he doesn't need anything. Whereas I need to be loved. I need a partner. Never there. I need money. I need more of this. It's never there when you want it. Notice when people become, if they make it could take 20, 30 years to make their first million. What happens? The next million rolls in, no problem. Why? Because they already think they know they deserve it at that point. They don't believe that they're going to have it. They know that they can do it. Now everything starts to flow in. And that's the same thing with love, with joy, with happiness. All of it is subconscious. And we'll go over that in the next class, but the laws of attraction. What's coming to you is a mirror image of what you're putting out. If you keep getting negative people in your life, then you're putting out negative thoughts in your subconscious. Maybe not your conscious. Oh, he's such a sweet person. But subconsciously, they could have a different story. And so abundance mindset, repeated affirmations, listening, writing down, and repeating something like you already have it. That's the key to success. So I'm going to stop sharing right there. We're all done for this class right here. I will stop recording in a second, and I'll just wait for a second in case anyone has any questions. Does anyone have anything? No. All right. So everyone, have a great night. Hope you enjoyed this and work on your affirmations. I am grateful and thankful that I have, and you repeat it. And next week is, again, we're going to go over, I'll do it another time, but I took a whole bunch of pictures of supplements. By the way, if anyone's interested, like I just met up with that supplement lady, and I have an e-store now that you can order the biotics research stuff, and I have protocols for all different kind of stuff. So if you need anything, probiotics, fish oil, stuff for your gallbladder, cleanses, I have everything. And normally I would charge people for consults. Anyone in this group, I will not charge for consults. You already paid to be part of this program. I will do that. No problem. I can meet 10 to 15 minutes on a call or in person if you wanted to. We can go over protocols and anything that you need. And I'll go over some of the supplements and some of the new things that they're coming out with. And I have the pamphlets as well, all the literature, the research, what's in each one and what they're for, and the protocols, how many to take, how often to take them. That's for SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, for anxiety, for sleep problems. We have a lot of protocols for stuff. Just wanted to share that with you, everyone.